Why, hello there. I'm the Naut. This little shit over there is Alphonse. Hello. I don't like you. And the beauty over there is Tutti. On this channel, we try to explain complicated stuff in a Nautish way. So even you can understand us. And we start this off by explaining a pretty big and serious thing. Politics.
I'm sure you've heard about the terms left and right when it comes to politics. And let me guess, this is what you think of when you hear right, and this is what you think of when you hear about the left. But where is this coming from? Well, this is an easy thing to explain. Way back in time, in the beginning of the 19th century in France, the French Parliament was separated into two different political streams. On the left side of the speaker, you could find the people that wanted to change things. They wanted to break with tradition and move things forward. Today, we would call them progressives. While on the right side of the speaker, you would find the people that wanted to preserve the status quo. They were the more traditional side of the spectrum. Today, we would call them conservatives. And that was actually the birth of the left and right meme, because other democracies around the globe would adapt this order of separation in their own parliaments and governments in the future.
Meh what? Doesn't explain why we think das Nazis are right and das Commies are left. Well, then let's move forward in time.
In a parliament with only two parties, this is an easy to distinguish thing. Progressives on the left, conservatives on the right. But over time, more and more political theories and parties came to life and became popular in a lot of countries. For example, look at the German parliament in 1932. Suddenly, there were not only strictly democratic parties anymore. They also had parties like the National Socialists, or in short, Nazi Party. By the way, Nazi comes from the German pronunciation of National Socialism.
Nationalsozialismus. Nationalsozialismus.
Nazi. Get it? And oh boy, were they a whole nother caliber when it came to conservatism. They also heavily relied on nationalism and straight up racism, so they were not only the right, but they would be considered as far right. Far right is a term that is still in use today, of course, as it describes a political view that is extremely conservative and relies heavily on nationalistic views to a point where people begin to think of themselves as superior.
But that sounds awesome. Being proud and so on. Well, it only sounds good to the people it applies to. But it also needs people to look down on, right? And how do you think these inferior people get treated in the process? However, let's not dive too deep into the flaws of extremism, and let's go back to our parliament.
Another political theory gaining popularity was communism. Communists are, of course, a tiny little bit more progressive than your regular everyday progressives. Not only do they want to move things forward for the people, they want to get rid of all the oppressive and authoritarian rich people by being oppressive and authoritarian and regulating what people can own, where they work, as well as almost every other aspect of their lives. This is, of course, only to free them from capitalism and to get rid of the difference between rich people and poor people. And since this idea is more than a little progressive, they were not only on the left, but they were now considered the far left.
Yes, you sexy and smart elephant you. The term far left is still in use today too. What? You want your playing scissors? Here. Hey, you shouldn't run with... Oh, this funny elephant.
Please understand that what I've told you up until now is only the very basic and classic concept of the political spectrum. So let's turn things a bit more complicated, shall we? We now know what can be called center-left, center-right, and far-left, far-right. But there are actually a lot of other political theories that can be found between the center and the extremities. For example, there are the social democrats that can be found somewhere between center-left and communism. Or, on the other side, we can find people like neoconservatives, or neocons, that are way more strict in the anti-progressivism. And then we have libertarians, who try to avoid being labeled as left or right at all costs, and are all about economic goals and small government. Or anarchists, who would like to abolish any form of government and make all laws voluntary. So with all these other kinds of parties and ideologies, some people simply applied another axis to our simple and cute left and right political spectrum. This was to make it more specific, but in reality it messed everything up for a lot of people. This new axis could be applied to many different meanings. Some would put authoritarian and individualism on it to show if it's advocating for more or less control over the government. Some would put economical and social on it to show if it's leaning more towards a wealthy and rich society or if it is focusing on the social aspects. Others simply put freedom and tyranny on it to show how much liberty the individual actually enjoys. All of this resulted in a lot of confusion and countless shiny, colorful graphs, maps, graphics, and flags and diagrams and.
Das ist too much.
It is an essential part of the human psyche to want to belong to a group. You can call yourself an individual as long as you want, but you and everyone around you belongs in some kind of group. To put it simply, humans are social animals and we feel the need to separate ourselves from other groups or to distinguish ourselves from them to a certain degree. For example, when you are a member of a gang, you dress in a certain way and you are expected to hate your rival gang. It's the same in politics. You identify yourself as Group A, so you have to dislike Group B and everything B wants and says, right? But what if maybe you are all about libertarian ideals and strong economies and no taxation, but you also want to support the poor and the weak? Does this make you a libertarian now? Or are you a social democrat? Or what? Or maybe you are proud of your country and want to preserve its values, but you also want things to progress forward and make it even better. So, are you a progressive traditionalist now? And why is that contradicting itself somehow? Too many different political views, and all of them have their very well-sounding selling points. What the fuck should I follow? They all say they're good, if not the best.
A strong government gets stuff done. What does fuck, I'm a Nazi now? But it might take away your freedoms. What does fuck, I'm an anarchist now? Hey, we need a strong economy to preserve and better our standard of living. What does fuck, I'm a libertarian now? But capitalism doesn't help the poor very much. What does fuck, I'm a communist now? How about thinking for yourself and try to be an independent individual? What?
Whenever somebody is trying to convince you of their political views, just stop, listen, and think about it. Then, before you march behind anyone's flag, educate yourself about the counter-arguments for that person's political perspective, and then decide for yourself. People might try to tell you that National Socialism is a great thing and only has advantages, but they will not tell you about the dehumanization aspect when it comes to their opponents. Others might try to convince you of the perfect equality in a classless society, like a socialist one, but they will not tell you how they will enforce this, how they will regulate every aspect of your life, all for the goals of the greater good. So the key when it comes to whose drum you should march to and who you should support is to inform yourself as well as you can and then make your own decision. And don't worry, the world will not end if the election did not turn out the way you wanted. Campaign for the next election. Get engaged in a creative and civil way. Get your arguments as bulletproof as you can, and then debate your opponents. And if nothing works out, then perhaps your ideology might simply not be what the majority of the people want. And who are you to tell them that they are all wrong and that you are right? And please, never dehumanize your political opponents or start to think of them as mindless sheep that are too stupid to see your enlightened way to the perfect society. That's a logical fallacy, you know. Also, politics are actually quite complicated. There is no golden path that has only benefits and where everyone can be happy. Every little decision and regulation could have huge consequences for people, and often these cannot be predicted beforehand. That's why, in democracies, things often change slowly, and those changes are applied carefully and not with a sledgehammer. Maybe that is something worth thinking about before you start calling for another revolution. If there's a problem, then let's solve it. Why throw everything we've worked for decades into the bin because of it? And remember, emotions will earn you votes. We are emotional beings after all, and compassion and fear have always been the greatest tools of politicians to make you vote for them. But in real life politics, emotions have no place, and the only thing that counts is rationalism. And money. Your money.
Well, thanks for watching. If I didn't bore you to death by now, leave a like, a comment, or share this video wherever you like. I'm gonna watch a comfy YouTube stream now. Bye! Auf Wiedersehen!
Shower energy? I didn't shower. You take a dump on my chest while I sucked you off? I mean, call me.
We get rid of that. Now I wanted to give a quick shout out to Mr. Emperonaut, who has a channel. 1 second. He does Warhammer reanimations, so I think it's worth checking the guy out. Yeah, Emperonaut is the man. It appears so. But I recommend his channel if any of you are interested in some giggles. I've looked at some of your stuff, my dude. I'll give it my approval.
So shout outs to NK9K, who gives $5 a show, Bjorn at $2.50, Cosby X at that $2.22, The Man of Your Dream at $1.34. I love these weird fucking numbers that people put in. Stratum at $1.15. We got Moga, the Emperonaut, who is a new patron. We got Golden Corral, also new. We got Guess Right.